2021, 28 years in here, wawo eye emrashe bejefiemu. How is the experience like combining for 28 years of being a parliamentarian? How is the experience like?
Well, it's been good. It's been also very stressful. It's been very educative and I must say humbling, you know. Yes, it's not been easy these 28 years just offering my services to my country, but it's worth doing it and I love doing that.
But is there anything you will say 28 years ni a year remarkable honorable kinsman Samana Babin ye de be kaino e wo a year parliament?
Oh, many. If you look nationally, the longest serving.
Okay.
That is an achievement, you know. Nobody since 1951 has been able to win 7 successive elections. So I've set the pace. It's my prayer that very soon people should be able to surpass the 7 successive elections. Again, I know that many will not realize it. But I have tried and marketed my constituency. It's now a household name. Nadoli is now a household name. Before I became MP, it was unheard of.
Nadoli Kaliu.
Yes, it was unheard of. Many were rather referring to Wa. Where do you come from? They say, I'm from Wa. Now they are proud to say, I'm from Nadoli. Okay? Then if you come to in the performance of my duty, the positions all you have mentioned, I've happened to occupy them. I'm sure it's by his grace and also the support of Ghanaians. I got that. But at least if I'm to enumerate what I've achieved, it will be shocking to you. At least I've been one of those who have, through hard work, and with the support of my people, made a difference in the lives of my constituents. And I can give you a typical example that when I went to my constituency, every community, for example, had a letter writer. The person will write the letters, he will read the letters and interpret to the folk, because not many were that very educated. You know, as of today, at least that phenomenon is no more. And you can, in every family, talk about graduates, very educated people. And I did this because we focused on education. Myself, together with some others and the assembly, prioritized education as the most effective tool of poverty reduction. And so I met a one-year-old day senior high. Now we can boast of 6 senior high schools in my constituency.
Nadoli Kaliu.
Yes, topped up.
6 senior high schools.
Yes, topped up with a college of education. These were not there. I met 2 day nurseries. We can now boast of 76 day nurseries.
Wow.
You know, that is education. So the infrastructure alone is not what is important, but how that has impacted on the lives of the people. And now, at least, we have so many professors, doctors, and all those things. And I contributed largely in supporting them through payment of school fees, through sponsorship to courses, including medical students. And so a lot has been achieved during that era. And it's not for nothing that we have been able to build that bond between me and my constituents, and I've been winning elections. And my ladies are the women folk who are really the anchor of society, have also felt a lot of my support. And so you can see...
They have felt a lot of your support.
Exactly.
The ladies.
Oh, yes.
Your ladies.
The women in the constituency. But when I got to the constituency, what they were still using was, they were using the stone to grind
pepper
grain.
And all that.
Yes, not only pepper, even the millet, the corn, and the rest. Because the grinding mill were very scarce, and they only went to to the market centers with grains in a queue to do so. So one of the first things I did was to make sure that I personally bought and supplied every community and supported the women to put up the structures, to install the grinding mills and to operate for their upkeep. I did not take a penny from them, from community to community. And so that lifted up the women from that drudgery of coming from farms, having to use the stone to grind the millet, the maize, to make flour in order to cook for the family, you know. And so there are a lot of these interventions. If you go to health, the highest health destination I met was a health center. And that was at Nadoli itself, Nadoli town itself. That was the highest health institution there. Now we can boast of 2 hospitals. In fact, my district hospital at Nadoli, transforming the health center to a district hospital, is usually regarded as the best in the region. And then we have the Ahmadiyyas coming to establish another hospital. So now we have 2 hospitals. In health centers, we have 10. We upgraded one to a polyclinic, and we are doing the same for another, to have 2 polyclinics. So in terms of the health of the people too, we've been able to improve a lot. And so we used to have things like yours, we used to have the chicken pox, cholera, we used to have, you know, a lot of measles, even skin diseases and all those things were there. Now they are things of the past. In fact,
all under your leadership.
A record in the district is that for the past 4 years, no woman has, during delivery, passed on.
Okay.
No woman.
So mortality rate has actually
It's
reduced
come to zero.
Zero. Wow.
So far in my district.
Under your leadership.
Because yes, we've been able to put up, apart from these health centers and clinics, also 28 CHIPS compounds. And I've intervened to let CHIPS compound construct some maternity units in the CHIPS compounds. And I managed to acquire delivery beds for these units which they are using. And so they are very close to the communities. And I sponsored health personnel, including public health nurses, and then the state registered nurses who are available. And they are doing what we call preventive and promotional health care, educating the people on how to live well, good living, so that you don't become sick. And they are doing marvelously well. And so I motivate them with awards and with various items. And I think that it's working very well.
Me sure say 28 years achievement the can see ma kwanya say the whole day show no kra no obeka ka eti when yate yate bebre. But very quick one. And say you are very bold woka wagwene said here eso kano, and typically in 1997 openly JJ Rollins amemuomu you say woka wagwene e kire no efa time or day wura Kwesibotwe, who was then the foreign affairs minister, or say one final acting minister of justice and attorney general. Even
no. It was Dr. Obed Asamoah.
Sorry. Yes, Dr. Obed Asamoah. Yes. Dr. Obed Asamoah. Yes. Sorry. And no say woka wagwene chere, no say wonene nye adwene. Just recently, Professor Mills time and also now, according to you, the chairman of the party could not have access to the president then, and also Woka Wagene, any day Kekaho. Alban Sumana, Kingsford Babin, or you'll be a Wakanagene, Wotimikanagene, and I say circumstances been a bakeke and sana, what to be beatum, just for him to remain important in the political space.
No, naturally, I'm more concerned about the interests of other people than my own interests. I know definitely well the politics of this country favors those who want to praise than those who want to criticize. But I think that I'm not in this whole business for my personal interest. And so if I see that something is going wrong, I'm always quick to point it out. And I believe that that's the best way as colleagues in the same boat. We should work. If you see that somebody is doing something that you disagree with, bring it out. Don't then go behind the person and be backing the person. And so I'm always, yes, by His grace, I have the courage. I'm one of those they describe as fearless. I come out with my views, irrespective of the fallouts to my person. And so far, I've done it up to date. And I really speak my mind. I don't mind those who also speak their minds or who draw my attention to maybe errors or mistakes or things that they think I'm doing that are not correct. That is how it should be. And so, yes, it's true. I speak my mind, and I speak it without fear or favor.
Right. Mene Second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Anna Echunkomo. I think now what join here, Honorable Kensford Sumana. But we bet me so join here on Facebook. Happy 98.9 FM. Epa Hoa Daben jumadi na wasugu suwa utie no. Mi ametia juma bidi jumadi wancha media. Muni mededa. Okateche kwa me Afrifa mensa ne media. We bet me after the youth president. President in ba kote hadeda. Ana ba konso afena wo pre se obet me abeye president. It's in the youth president youth president as someone aspiring president say womrana oni youth no emra bedi nkomo ye bedi nkomo no akọ all angles.
Okay,
you can be rest assured say nsɛm yebusa yedi ho nkomo, even the market for ni di ho nkomo nyina yebusa Honorable Kensford Bagbin and nsɛm bia abesi yebusa bia no send the bra 0202 222 but we say prekase Kwame aristocrat mo asha ase the message no basi yemusa honorable but many honorable bedi nkomo kakra akọ akiri ansa na mako read mo messages ye wia ye be phone lines no atum oba na wo beka wadwena rules of engagement, respect should be the underlining factor. Honorable, you have passed controversial comments in the past regarding corruption. Corruption once who say more or less an anti-corruption crusader. What you say minor your fight against corruption? We are making a headway.
No.
I didn't hear.
Sadly, if you look at the Transparency International corruption analysis and annual results, we're doing badly, particularly recently. We're on the decline, and I think that we need to work at it. You see, I was fortunate when I got to Parliament, and because of my outspokenness, I caught the eye of a number of international organizations. So I was one of those that the U.S. exchange programs attracted, and I got the opportunity of going to the U.S. almost about 20-something states in the U.S. I visited. And they also sponsored me to be part of the global movement to try to contain corruption. It's a global canker. And so I had the benefits of learning from other countries how they've managed to do it. And so whilst working in Parliament and being a member, I have endeavored to try to put across some of those views. Others think that is because I don't like some personalities, that's why I do so. But I don't have any problem with any individual person. It's just fighting for the collective good. And that's why I used to make those critical analysis and views known publicly. And I think that corruption is now not just systemic, but institutionalized in Ghana. And it's, the level of tolerance of corruption is unimaginable. People just accept it as a way of life. And I think it's wrong, because it's bleeding the resources of the nation and bleeding them into the pockets of individuals as against the collective interest. And I think that we need to stand up to fight it. I was happy you were talking about the issue of accidents, and the toll on the nation. The Ghanaians seem to have taken life like, Yefanusa, and those kind of things. Life is not like that. Life is so precious that you can't put a value on it. And in bringing up a human being, the kind of investment that we put in the human being is immeasurable. And so we should be very careful in whatever we do, and whatever an individual does affects the rest in the group. And so we should try to live together and focus on what is essential for the group, not for individuals. So corruption is, as the research has shown, one of the banes of underdevelopment in Africa and in Ghana too. And so there's a lot more work for us to do. But as I just stated, if it is the system, if it is the institutions, then we have to work at that.
But Nkofo bisa se wo nye sabi nipa ketua bia ye kan wo ma we mu one time you were the majority leader in parliament. One of the reasons see intimi fight corruption a govern corruption. Criminal Offences Act 1960, that is Act 29. Subsection, in fact, 239, corruption and the public officer of jury. No, corruption is considered as a mere misdemeanor rather than making it a first degree felony or a second degree felony to make the act of corruption unattractive. What was Parliament 28 years? Ediana a stop a yemre shibigwa forces samra way a ma corruption as a punishment in munye druno mobe sano. I don't know 28 years.
Well, you know that the constitution that we have and the way it's being interpreted has taken away the power of parliament or individual members of parliament to initiate legislation. And so we depend on the executive to initiate legislation and bring the draft to us as a bill for us to consider and pass. And so we just wait on. Every year we raise the issue on this issue, and the anti-corruption institutions are also always hammering on it. But no government has initiated and brought that to parliament.
But you were part of Atamel's government, which you were the majority leader. So you could have initiated it through Atamel's government.
At the time I was majority leader in the first year, the focus was how to establish parliament.
Okay.
You know, many of you don't know. You think they just vote for you, you go to parliament and you are a member, you start talking. It doesn't work that way. There's a course you have to be taken through.
Okay.
There are arrangements that have to put in place. You have to be put into committees. It takes some time to do all this before you are given the orientation and the rest. After that, my focus was how to come out with rules that will govern the conduct and behavior of members of parliament. So I was working on the code of conduct. I was also working on bills that could strengthen the institution of parliament. And so I focused on establishing the Budget Act. Okay? And so after I finished this, these were the areas that I wanted to strengthen. And when I was offered the position to be a minister for parliamentary affairs, I turned it down and said, no, that ministry bless the concept of separation of powers. Because when you are the leader of parliament...
Is it the one exactly. Is occupying now?
We are always debating each other on that. When you are the leader of parliament, and then you take up a ministerial position, which means you are now taking the whole leadership of parliament to be under the president, and you are at the beck and call of the president. Definitely, who are you going to serve, the president or
the parliament?
And so it's somehow a very contentious issue we've been debating. It only happens when you are practicing the parliamentary system. But we are not practicing the parliamentary system. We are practicing a hybrid with the presidential system having more premium than the parliamentary system. And so I turned it down. And since I did that, I decided to focus on how to strengthen parliament. In those areas, to start with, even those legislations I initiated, I have to depend on experts from outside parliament. Parliament itself has no legal department. And you have to be dependent on the Attorney General department, which is already loaded with so much work, because the drafting department is not attractive. And most of them are the ladies who rather decide to sacrifice for this.
Baby, I shamra wo my name no. You need legal department
wo parliament.
Money parliament legal department. Baby, I shamra no. Ade mrana ba ne mo se mamunya legal department ana.
Well, you know, anytime you want to budget to establish these things, the executive will say there's no money. And so the former speakers have all been struggling to do it. The current speaker is still working on it. Well, you need to have an alternative to the Ages department. So when the proposals come from the Ages department, you have to have other experts that will look at it and propose other options. And so that we now take a decision. It's not something like fait accompli anytime it comes from the executive. And so Parliament is that weak because Parliament is not strengthened. It's not the individual members of Parliament who don't have the capacity. But you can't have capacity in every area. You have a capacity in your area of study or your area of practice. And so we had that challenge as a country, and we need to work on it. And I can promise you, as the President of Ghana, this is one of the areas I have to work on. We have to strengthen the arms of government, the legislature, the judiciary, and the media to be able to hold the almighty executive to account to the good people of Ghana, the utilization of the resources we put in their hands, the utilization of the power that we put in their hands, and the funds, the taxes that are generated, how they are properly utilized. If we do so, we'll be able to reprioritize and then resequence development in this country. So, yes, I've been there for 28 years, but
Parliament
I don't have the legal authority to initiate legislation. And I can cite an example during the time of, I think it was the late Right Honorable Peter Alajete, myself and Dr. Apraku, Honorable Dr. Apraku, we worked on the political parties law. And we did a draft. And we said, no, the interpretation was not, no, we couldn't do it. So it wasn't done. And we had to wait for the government to come out with a bill on it, which we worked on and which is still very deficient, because the political parties law should have other provisions, the provisions that could compel even parliamentary candidates, presidential candidates, to declare the source of the income, the money they use for their campaigns, and to also declare how that money is utilized. These are all measures towards fighting corruption, okay? Because people will get to know who contributed to your campaign. And then, how have you utilized that money? And so when you are in power, they know that it is not just money bags, a few people that have sponsored you into office. And then you are now pretending to be serving the interests of all Ghanaians.
You will make sure that law is enforced.
Exactly.
You will make sure you be change Criminal Offences Act now. My corruption and misdemeanor, no. Am I also elevating it to maybe a felony?
But I think that we have no basis for still relying on that provision, because we are signatory to a number of treaties on corruption, and their definition is very different. Again, we came out with a national anti-corruption action plan as a country, which was approved by Parliament, in which the term corruption has been differently defined. Yeah, exactly. So we cannot still be saying that because of that act. There are other provisions in other laws, and including the Special Prosecutors Act that will give us the ability to prosecute using other offenses, which are also all part of corruption. But this one you are looking at is one of bribery. You know, the giving and the taking. That's what is covered. But corruption goes beyond that.
Honorable Bagbin, and are making allegations against Efia Timu as the second deputy speaker. When I say Efia Timu, I mean Parliament. Parliament corruption, the act of corruption. Yeah, they are bomb say Parliament here corrupt. Parliament here corrupt. Is there corruption in Parliament?
I remember recently one of our most respected security personnel, Kwansen, Mr. Constant say that the police service is corrupt because they are living and operating in a corrupt society. It was the same term I used when I had the opportunity to give a talk to about 23 civil society organizations to see how we could work together to improve the workings of Parliament, the Parliament and civil society. And this same question of corruption of members of Parliament and Parliament itself came up. And I said that it means that if Parliament is corrupt, it's because Parliament is living in a corrupt society. And I cannot vouch for all members of Parliament that we don't have corruption in Parliament and that we don't have some members that are corrupt. And it was given very wide publicity, particularly on the front page of Daily Graphic. And my colleagues ran at me for saying those things. But if you look at the proper definition of corruption, the abuse of trust for private gain, the abuse of trust for private gain, okay? And that's why now it goes beyond public office, okay, and enters the arena of private sector. Is the abuse of trust for private gain. And so when people give their trust to you to hold that trust for and on their behalf, and then you decide to use it to benefit yourself, self-interest, that is corruption. And with that kind of definition, I could say that there's no corruption in Parliament.
So with that kind of definition, you can say there's corruption in Parliament.
Yes.
There's corruption in Ghana's Parliament.
Yes, even abuse of office is corruption.
For one's personal gain.
Yes. We need, for example, when you are using official vehicles and you're using them for your personal interest, it's corruption.
But you and I know, sir, about corruption in our society. I don't know why you heard the first part about the receiving, the giving and the receiving of a bribe. And be a bribing for Parliament with your 28 years experience.
No. For the giving and receiving, that one day you cannot get evidence that a member of Parliament will allow himself to be corrupted with the giving of money.
But just recently, yet someone got some more allegations. Say, former Minister of Energy, will be bribing a Parliament with. That means it has been happening.
No, you saw the difficulty they had. Because, you see, when you have committee meetings, there are some allowances that are paid the committee members. And those allowances are not transmitted into their accounts. There are fiscal cash that are given to them. And so that's where we had the problem. And so members said, well, that money was given to us and usually passes through the leadership. And so we took it as
allowance.
Allowance.
No minimum allowance or moje. They didn't know the allowance?
They know the allowance, but they differ.
Okay.
They differ. And it is not always one sitting that they give. They accumulate and they come. Even when we left Parliament for the last sitting, that committee, they call it committee incentive allowance, has not yet been paid. And so when you go back and then they come with that to you, you can take it without realizing that it is coming from unlawful sources. You understand? And so when that issue was raised, they had a difficulty in investigating and improving it.
Honorable Babin, what receive you bribe?
From who? You?
Why'd you bribe?
Throughout my life, I rather give.
You rather give bribe
to society than society giving to
you. It's when you bribe.
Oh, I will never do.
We are seeing now when you never. No. You can vouch. Any day, anytime.
100%. One of the reasons I joined UNC was because of its slogan, Pawuli Eye Clean.
Okay.
You understand? And that is one of the reasons that took me to UNC. Okay? United National Convention. And so when I entered Parliament, I entered with my own resources. I was a legal practitioner in Accra here.
Okay.
That's where I was based and moving around to Kumasi, Koforidua, so many places. So I had enough money to go to campaign. At that time, politics was not that expensive. And so there was no need to rely on any person. except the, I think it was 5 bicycles that was brought by the party to support, and then the payment of agents, which the party took care of. Those were the things that, but the main campaign, I funded it. And so I got into that office not having any upper string attached to any person.
Okay.
You understand?
It's
And
when you
through
bribe
that,
Ubia.
because I saw the level of poverty in my constituency, I decided that I was not only going to look at government to develop it, I will go beyond government to use my personal resources and that of civil society, which I did. And so bribery, no.
But Ubia also tries to be my bribe.
Oh, no.
Ubia try.
Because, you see, you will not, the way I present myself, it's difficult for people to come to me to say they are coming to bribe me.
It's we a Minister of Works and Housing, you know, Ubia first kakra office. Say be our contract to be.
You see, I dealt with technocrats. I did deal with private people. And throughout, I didn't even know the contractors.
Okay.
No. The chief director, the directors bring the proposals, we work on them, we discuss them. If they are in line, I take to cabinet for approval, from cabinet to parliament for approval. From there, Minister of Finance will lead the search for funding. You get the memo together, you co-sponsor it to cabinet, it's approved, to parliament is approved. Funding is in the hands of Minister of Finance, not in the hands of the minister. You understand?
It's we a minister, you know,
so
10% in one you be that.
It won't come to you 10%. It will not come to you.
But so what is going for 10% as one of the contractor, man?
No, we've been hearing of it, but no evidence to prove. Well, you know, handling of budget is mostly in the hands of the chief director and the director of finance. You know, processing of monies and the rest are not done by ministers. Ministers are dealing with policy formulation. So our discourse actually in this country must change, and people must come clean to let them know the roles we each play in that respect. And so throughout, I worked. Look, I signed the documents for the reconstruction and upgrading of the Rich Hospital into a regional hospital. I don't know the contractors. I never saw them.
You never saw the contractors?
No,
wow.
Never.
Then you are really indeed a clean man.
Oh, for that one, I can vouch 100%.
Did not want to have a as NDC presidential candidate because what they are on your corrupt?
They have investigated me when I was minority leader. One of the first focus of my colleagues then in government was to try and investigate this boy from the date of birth after the time I became minority leader. And they did a lot of investigation. And you know what?
Tell me.
They got one of their members who was working with Ports and Harbor to go to my village to try and look at an application I had made for funding to set up share barter manufacturing companies, you know, and it had just started. In fact, the application was in 1999. 2000, they managed to release the money to then ITTU, now Gratis Foundation, okay, to try to use their manufactured equipment to go and do that for my people. And so the time they got there, they were still working at it. And so you had a front page publication, Bagbin's Ghost Shea Butter Factory. That was only the allegation. They didn't know that the money was not given to Bagbin. Bagbin actually made the application for and on behalf of his women in the constituency. But it was passed through an institution to implement the project and not me. And so I was investigated. And, you know, I came out and attacked them, and they did the investigation, and I came out clean.
Honorable Kingsford Sumana Babin, since when have you nursed the ambition of becoming president in this country?
Oh, about nursing ambition, if this ambition is of recent development, but about a divine message, it was from very early when I was in the secondary school. Okay. And, you know, your tutors go around asking you what you want to be in future. And at that young age, I said president, you know. And my colleagues were like, wow, They got one of the ladies in the class and said that is the first lady. And so we used to work together, president and first lady.
So in your mind, in the way, president and first lady.
That was where I can say maybe it began. But it's after I joined politics and decided that it was important to serve this nation to a level and to also give opportunity for others. But after some time, I realized that we are like stuck in the mud. We're not making much progress. You know, in the abundance of water,
the fool is thirsty.
The fool is thirsty. With all these natural resources and quality human resources, why are we not moving? Why? Even in the quality of governance, even in the quality of politics. I'm not even talking about poverty levels, okay? But even in that, we don't seem to be moving forward. And then I said, after being given all this opportunity by my constituency, the good people of Ghana, and the Almighty God, to be in politics for 26 years, having seen it not just in Ghana, but outside Ghana, and worked with so many presidents. You know, the time I used to go to Congress, Obama was a junior senator, okay? But he had very good grooming from the Kennedys. And so when he shot up, he was just a star. In fact, my friend was John Kerry, because we were together in a group called Parliamentarians for Global Action. And when he contested for the presidency, I went to the U.S. to give my small support because he's a Democrat. And they have a similar philosophy with us, National Democratic Congress. So I did that. And so seeing all this happening in my country, and I just go on retirement and let that go to waste, I thought, no, that would not be fair. I cannot take all this investment and just wish it away. And so I said, I will offer myself. In fact, everybody will attest to the fact that when I was minority leader and leading, my party were pushing me to contest at that time.
That is 2008.
Exactly.
Why did you drop?
From 2006, when we were going for the primaries, people came talking to me and all those, and I said, no, I would prefer that we give opportunity to others. More so because I didn't want us to have this antagonistic politics. And you know, from 2001 to 2006, because of the focus of the then President Kufuor's government in trying to annihilate and destroy NDC, and the posture I took of fighting back to make sure that NDC survives and is revamped, which happened, I thought that it was no good for me to go to that presidency at that time, because Ghanaians were getting worried about the too much antagonism between the two major political parties. And so I gave opportunity to others to develop. And that is how come the former president, John Dramani Mahama, came up.
You gave opportunity to others to develop.
Yes.
So and John Dramani Mahama, you gave him some sort of opportunity.
And followed up with a program and a strategy to develop him. And I worked through it that way until he became the running mate to our late illustrious president, J.E.A. Mills. And then he won to become president, and he became the vice president. I was quite happy. I have made an impact. But after all that, I see that we've not made much progress. Okay? We rather made progress in indebtedness. But we've not really seen the effect and impact of all those things we went for. And I believe, something to lead this country to improve governance and leadership. Very important. Because of that, I had to go and do my master's in governance and leadership in Jimpa.
Okay.
So it's not just only practicals. I have the basic theoretical background to do that. If we are able to improve on our governance and leadership and reprioritize and sequence that prioritization properly, Ghana will go places. If we are able to think beyond the orthodoxy that we're doing and look more at critical areas of development, like where we can generate more resources, because there are opportunities all over in this country, and look at the unemployment rate in the country. But we know that Even in the public institutions, they need more hands. If you come to parliament like this, we need over 10,000 people to be employed there. If you go to the judiciary, they need more. Yet, we are not able to do that because we have not been able to generate the much needed resources, financing to do that. So the opportunities abound. But luckily for us, look at tourism. Look at the state of tourism in this country, where we can earn a lot of money. We haven't focused on it.
Right. One year more of national issues. And they know all press for NDC Francatuno and share once. I am share once. It's a bedroom come more in the direction of NDC. And the primaries are more on the 23rd of February. Near Omanu Omokwa can see, and they said they will stand tall. Walker say, I will say you will nurse the ambition of becoming president at early age as secondary school. Is that the reason I'm going to say when John Dramani Mama Mun said that you're free? If it's now as where you wakola and then you jumping to that higher height, there's bad blood between the two of you. When John Mama send a Montemutia.
Oh, very good, brothers.
Yeah, we are saying what you may sound who be president now when you're president.
Oh, you know, this is a different area. You know, leadership. It's not about friendship. It's not about brothers or sisterhood. You know, leadership is not about nepotism. Okay, as I sit here, I have a lot of my brothers who are very educated, some more educated than me. Have you ever heard of any of them in any position, so far as political office is concerned? No. I believe strongly that we should try to separate that sentimentalism from our leadership qualities. The fact that he is from northern region and I'm from upper west region, okay? And because people used to see these three regions as north, they still look at us as brothers. And so we refer to each other as brothers and sisters. And because of that, there's that treatment of us still as one region. So even if you look at the development budget and look at it critically, the three regions are given very little when it comes to development because they see it still as one region, and we are suffering for that. I think that we have to try and get people out of it. John Mama, I knew him. He was 1 year behind me from secondary school, that's sixth form level.
Okay.
I got to Tamal Secondary School. He was in Ghana Secondary School, so I knew him from there. His senior brother Alfred was my mate in Tamal Secondary School. So there can never be bad blood between us. But that doesn't mean that I should allow that relationship to influence my views of his performance and how that performance is impacting the quality of life of the Ghanaian. It's the same. I have very good relations with the current president. But I have not failed to tell him at any time he's going wrong, whether on air or when I meet him personally. I have done that. And as you yourself referred to before earlier on, I did the same when His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings was a president. I did the same when Professor Mills was a president. And in fact, when I was minority leader, people thought that I was at loggerheads with the former President Kufuor. It wasn't at all. I was playing a national role, a very impartial critic, a critic that is focused on making things work to improve the lives of people.
Did John Dramani Mahama perform, in your own opinion? Do you think he
performed? In some areas, he did very well. In other areas, he performed abysmally.
Which areas? As I like said, what? You can touch on it.
To
no, the entire you better discuss John Mahama and say one no na edi NDC anymore at the core 2016 election. It's in the performance and ko catch and go for say wanyade 18 year for Francatun because why are there? That means automatically you man kwan anko to asomeboa. In your own opinion wanyade.
You know, let me say this. The leadership of our party now is the national chairman.
Okay.
Not John Dramani Mahama. Okay? That's constitutional. Good. The next thing I want Ghanaians to know is that politics is team leadership. It's not the individual. Okay? That is what is one of the causes of leadership failure. And so when the NDC was in power, unfortunately, the party itself should have been seen to be in charge of the governance. And that did not happen. There was a wide gap between the party and the government. And it's like the former president then took the role of running the show as an individual.
One-man show.
And exactly. That caused a lot of dissatisfaction. And that got the rank and file, particularly the grassroots members, to the link from the party. And therefore, to refuse to come out on the election day to vote. And that affected the party. You understand?
So the party as a whole failed.
That to work with a team was a challenge for him. Again, in Ghana, we take politics like a joke. We focus so much on the fanfare, you know, where people are singing and dancing.
It a big
those kind of things. But politics is serious business. The lives of so many people are in your hands. You understand? And so we should not turn it into a fanfare,
slogans,
some joke. That you know, when you are a leader, anywhere they give you leadership position, there's a code of conduct, and you are expected to behave accordingly. Even if you are a young man and they take you and make you a chief, you can't say because you are a young man you still go around with your ladies and go to clubs and be jumping around and do that. No. By virtue of that position, you have to conduct yourself in a certain manner, because it's very, very important for leadership. We all talk about leadership by example. Why? Because leadership has tremendous influence on followers. And so you must conduct yourself in such a way that the followers want to emulate your good example.
Okay.
I think that in Ghana, our leadership culture is not the best, and we need to improve upon it.
Now we'll be talking about the leadership of NDC. Do you think John Mahama lived up to the code of conduct of the presidency in his tenure?
I wouldn't have been contesting him if he did.
So he didn't live up to the code of conduct?
I don't think so.
He turned into fanfare. By what you saying, we saw the president doing Shea Idebi Keke and all that. Was he joking? Do you think he was joking? Like you said, it's not a joke, but was he joking during the 2016 election?
Well, it's for the people to determine, but I wasn't enthused about those things.
You were not enthused about what he was doing?
No.
Idebi Keke?
No. Because, you see, even the twisting of the mouth, what was that meant to do?
The president was twisting the mouth.
I don't know what was meant to do, but as I said, we've gone beyond that. We're now looking for a better alternative. It is left to the good people of Ghana to decide whether we should still go on with our old ways or we should now come with a new leaf of life and politics. That decision is left to Ghanaians, starting with the delegates of the NDC. Do we want to continue to do business as usual and therefore reaping the same results, or we want to inject fresh ideas, fresh views that can improve things?
Fresh views, fresh ideas.
Yes. You know?
Talk of fresh views, fresh ideas. There's been a general concern on the continent of Africa. So, as a leaders, you know, you have been in parliament for 28 years. A dear pana, Honorable Bagbin. Ubetimia Yabwa or my year 28 years, Untiminya, and Untia the presidency in Mawa, and Abitimia.
I wasn't a president.
But you were I was first.
It's like you are here, and today you are a host, and you are a host for many years. You will not want to be the manager of the whole unit?
Chief executive.
Chief executive? You want to be the chief executive.
Of another radio station.
Of another radio station. And so there's a process of growth.
Okay.
And you know, as you grow, it's not only the theory that you read in the books. You practice it. And practice makes perfect. And experience is the best teacher. And so as you get to that level, you have at least experienced it all. And he who feels it knows it better. And so, yes, I've been able to go through the mill. I've developed myself to this stage. And the stature that I've reached can only be for the topmost post.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
And
that
so,
means actually no year 20 to offer do 18 and 19. Obesa offer do a year 20 or so no actually.
I mean,
Ladder.
yes.
And to obesa offer do a year
Yeah,
20 or.
Yes.
But then conversely with the emergence of people like Professor Joshua Alabi, it has sent some shock down the spine of some of you. And I'm top notch when it comes to NDC. Professor Alabi went around.
Prof is not new to me. Prof was behind me in secondary school.
Okay.
In the same school, Tamara Secondary School.
Oh, you're older than Prof?
I'm not older than him. He was only behind me.
Okay.
You know, I was so fortunate. I went to school very early.
Okay.
And I had a very direct course. Okay. I never failed any year.
Okay.
So I went straight until I was called to Reba in 82. And so even though I don't think I'm older than him,
Okay.
but he was behind me in the secondary school. So I knew him. And he grew up in Tamale. So he also knew me, and he knew the former president, John Dramani Mahama. So that relationship has gone far. Yes, he was in parliament for 4 years. And the 2 years he was the regional minister for Northern Region, having been known there. And then 2 years he was regional minister for Greater Accra. When he left and then went into academia, which was, according to him, a more comfortable place for him. He admired that than politics. He did very well there and rose up to become a vice chancellor of a university. And he transformed the Institute of Professional Studies into a University of Professional Studies, you know. And so he achieved a lot. He also became a chairman of the party before. So he has also had some tremendous experience. Now he came back and he was made a chairman of a board again. This time not the party, the regional party, but a board, SNIT. And so he also had 2 years experience there. So he has what it takes to lead. You understand? That one cannot measure up to where I got. For 26 years,
okay,
I have no other business but the business of Ghana. Of Ghana, not just politics. I've committed my life and everything to serving the good people of Ghana for 26 years. And fortunately, by the grace of the Almighty God, opportunities were open for me to learn more. So the culture of leadership and governance that I have, many of them will have them in the academic field, but not in the practical level.
Not even Spill Gabra, near round.
Oh, Spill came later, you know, when we struggled from the very beginning. You know, he was one of those that, I think, about the first minister to have been, first nominee to have been disqualified by Parliament.
Okay.
In 1993, you know, when surprisingly people drew our attention to the fact that he was not a registered voter.
Okay.
Okay. But because of his quality, he was not let to go. I think he was made an ambassador. And then he did things properly and came back in 97 to be a minister.
Okay.
You understand? And since then, he also kept on in and out. But he has not had the opportunity to enter Parliament. Parliament is the hotbed of partisan politics, where you learn how to give and take in good faith. You understand? And so as senior members, we observe the new members when they come. Even greeting each other is a difficulty because of the type of politics we are playing outside. But as they move on, as they work together, they now gel and they now start learning how you can criticize somebody without insulting the person and how the person can take that criticism in good faith. That culture is good for democracy. And that culture must go beyond the boundaries of Parliament or the perimeters or presence of Parliament. And we haven't yet succeeded in doing that. And so I'm happy, really, I'm happy when members of Parliament are now ascending to the highest office of the nation as presidents, starting with our former president, John Dramani Mahama, then later on the current president. But I should say that the former president Kufuor also had 2 years experience in Parliament.
Okay.
And so it's good for the culture of democracy, how we can consolidate and then entrench democratic practice in the country. And so I have that, and I believe that I stand tall.
Among all of them, in this Spill Gabra, they won't ring round. we be see who nyemi hu.
Well, let's
Sylvester
see what
Mensa
happens.
crowd me sure say yeah and one kase by your definition of experience and I just say one man
Oh,
baby.
he's a cadre, you know. He's a cadre. He started from the revolution, and so he's also had that experience. But he hasn't tasted executive. The highest he's been to is a chief executive officer, and so he had that experience too. Very, very intelligent guy who did his masters in UK after we lost the election and he lost the parliamentary bid. He went and studied his masters. He did well. He came and worked with the bank. He was always in my office. And when he was in parliament too for 4 years, I was there. So as a leader, so we've known each other very, very well.
Honorable Kingsford Alban Bagbin, second deputy speaker of parliament and also an aspiring presidential candidate of the NDC and the NNH Komono. My message is in Libya, but unfortunately, I think your machine, there is a little technical problem with it. Into most sending my message, Emra 0242, another 024261, 0242, another 024261, and into yanto en komo so bad mami musa questions abani bi questions na abani bi okay as a field marshal, it's undebatable fact that Honorable Bagbin is repertoire of parliamentary democracy in Ghana and an iron pillar in NDC. In the unlikely event of him not getting the nod, will he still play instrumental role in ensuring the unnegotiable victory of the party in 2020? That is Ken Ayonde na debaye. Honorable, yes, say okwana ndisi fona mfatu mi na mawa. Obeji ajina abwa mamo in 2020 campaign.
Sure, 100% sure. The focus is not the individual. The focus is the collective interest. And so I'm not just here to pop out my ego. No. It's to try to lead to make sure that we can develop the whole nation, not just our party. And so why not? Well, definitely, if I'm not the one, in the unlikely event I'm voted against and somebody else is elected, the person has 100% support from me, for sure.
Okay, where every person Kwame aristocrat. Kabum, please ask Honorable Bagbin. Papa J made youthful Spiogabra, who is a stammerer, as his information minister, and JM as his deputy when he was also available. Now, how did he chastise GM for appointing Omane Buama, who also stammer, as information minister? Does he regret for publicly making such comment?
Oh, Prekese, you see, you've also been misinformed. Okay. I did praise all the three names that they've been publishing, and I gave their credentials as good materials. The issue that I raised was the issue of decision making, okay, leadership, identifying good materials, and knowing where to place them. Okay, and so I was addressing the issue of incompetence in the NDC, the tack that they are trying to put on NDC, and I said this is not the first time. Even during 1999-2000, the same thing was used. Incompetence and corruption. Okay? And after that election, when we lost, we had our members doing international interviews and getting international appointments. You can talk about Spio Garba, you can talk about Betty Mold Idrisu, you can talk, many of them. And so that one is usually the ability of the overall leader to identify that good material and put them in the right positions. And so that was the issue that I was raising. I was not saying that there are no good materials, but definitely every chief knows that when you're going in for your linguist, that linguist must have a good command and control of not just the language, but also the ability to deliver it in such a way you can convince people. That you cannot challenge. Again, we also know our cultural sensitivities. Those are the things I was raising. How come that our natural allies turned against us? The issue I raised, for example, with my brother, who I grew up with, and I'm still with as of today, Dr. Seydou Dana, was an issue of cultural sensitivities. And particularly so as the chiefs came out to oppose it. As a listening government,
he should have done something about it.
Done something about it, because he is very capable of occupying other ministerial positions. You understand? And so I said all that worked against us, and that explained why we lost colossally in the 2016 election. It was an abysmal performance. A party in power and a party who organized the election. You understand? And so that twist that was made was by competitors who saw it as an opportunity to take away voters from me. And they decided to twist it and said I was against the physically challenged. You understand? But now people are knowing that I'm one of their patrons and that I have worked a lot to develop the physical challenge in our society. I continue to sponsor them through education, and I continue to support their foundation, the Richoff Disability Foundation, and I'm one of those who paid to organize fundraising at the State Banquet Hall. I paid 50,000 Ghana cedis to organize fundraising to support the disabled in our society, you know. So I cannot be against them.
Okay, me sure say I see your messages now, but that means messages in the door. So by the way, Kwame Richard say I should ask you that talk of cultural insensitivity, Honorable seems not to be connected with the people in terms of language. I'm sure what he's trying to say is
my inability to speak
Tree.
Yeah.
Now I'm so proud for Canada.
Just unfortunately, my school was just direct, and I didn't stay with any Tree-speaking community.
Oh, okay.
See, that's where I was disabled, and I've been struggling to learn it. You know, I just break it in a way that people laugh. And so when I'm doing serious business, I don't want to inflict that on the general public. If not, my understanding is quite good.
Okay.
But the spoken is not, because the tongue is not being twisted
properly
to learn the consonants, the vowels, and the rest. But at least I understand a lot of it. So you are right to say that.
Okay, where's it? Citizen Francis, Facebook caucus. I think the message is, please extend my greetings to Honorable Bagbin. In fact, he's a nice gentleman, but he is in the wrong party. If the current NDC leadership have their party at heart, they wouldn't be supporting Express the Mama, who has been annihilated in 2016 elections at the expense of this fine gentleman who can give Nanado a good run for his money. I think citizens say we're a fine gentleman, but in the wrong party.
I'm sure he's one of my friends in the MPP. I was praying that one day I'll get up and leave NDC and join MPP.
I'm sure
that's not my philosophy of life. My philosophy of life is to create equal opportunity for all, for us to live and respect each other, each being his neighbor's keeper, and giving unto others what you want others to give unto you. That's how I was brought up, by the Catholic Church and by my Dagati tribe. I'm a Dagati by tribe, okay? And we live together as a community, supporting each other to develop. We did not look at somebody who want to aggrandize and then take care of. I don't support that kind of society. And so it's impossible for me to cross carpet from NDC to come and join MPP. No.
It's impossible for me to cross carpet. You better a course quickly. But my Musa questions, honorable, because of time factor, you better tell. Now, way has to do with the governance of Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. So far, looking at the performance of the MPP, one district, one factory ongoing, one village, one dam. I'm sure you've seen it in the northern region. Free, what's it?
I've seen what? One village, one dam.
And I'm also.
These are slogans, so you can keep on singing them.
Free education.
Yeah.
And they crown so you see Angulo good Ashanti, Asashe, Najuma say, Bano infrastructure, and Anado ye, and Yama Bibri. Say ye elect to be our NDC, whoever emerges as the winner of the primaries. Do you think you can clinch power 2020?
I believe so. If not, I wouldn't have been contesting.
Okay.
But I know it will involve hard work. It's just not fair accompli. Just because our colleagues in power are having serious challenges with leading the country, doesn't mean that their failures will inure to the success of NDC. And so we need to work. We need to be able to reorganize our party well, unite, and then consolidate, solidify, and move together as a team to win the elections. But I must say that it's quite disappointing. The performance of the party in power has been so disappointing that Ghanaians are falling into a state of despair. You know, they are just giving up.
Governance is so disappointing.
They are just giving up. And you hear people are talking about too much hardship that is being inflicted on them. Yes, we all love free education. Who doesn't? You know? But I keep on saying that it was a premature birth. And once you have a premature birth, you have to do everything to sustain the baby. Because that's what you're looking for. And so, yes, we're all looking for free education. It's taken a long time for it to be realized. He has come and he has decided to bite the bullet. In biting the bullet, you have to be careful, you see. And that is what has happened. And so we're spending a lot more in trying to sustain it. You know how difficult it is to sustain a premature baby. And so that's what is happening. But a future government led by Honorable Bagbin will definitely improve upon it. It will not be thrown overboard, no.
Free education is in the incubator.
It's come to stay.
So premature babies are put in the incubator,
yes,
and all that.
You know, that's where it is now. And that's why you are having double track and all those things. These are all knee-jerk reactions to try to solve the problems. You see?
On a scale of 100%.
Oh, I gave them 30%.
Oh, Nanado.
Yeah. I've been very, very, very clear about that. And I can lead evidence to prove that, because one of the first things that every leader, including presidents, must do is to be able to put in place a society that is peaceful, that is safe and secure. That they have totally failed. Rather, from the post-election violence up to date, even within this few weeks this year, you know the number of people that have been killed, and people are calling them contract killings or whatever. The state institutions are investigating the matter. They will come out with the evidence for all of us to see. But we've seen such things for many, many years, and we've never found solution to them. But because he could not have control of the rank and file of his party, and the mayhem that they visited on this country had really marked him down. That is one.
So 30% for Nanado's government.
I still maintain it.
Okay. Do you support the call of your minority in parliament for the police to arrest Kennedy Japan?
Kennedy Japan has interest in the case, and therefore he's one of the people that should be questioned and investigated. You understand? But I will not go to the extent of saying that he should be arrested.
Okay.
No, arrest is a different ball game altogether. The state institutions are investigating. If they find evidence that are incriminating, they will definitely take the necessary legal measures. And if whoever is found wanting, the person will be prosecuted. And so I will not prejudge the issue by saying that he, in particular, should be arrested.
But they should call him for investigations.
At least, yes, he has an interest, because he did something, even as far back as the time he made the statement, the police should have moved to take him to court, because at that time, he would have been found to be committing the crime of abetment.
Okay.
Abetment. There's an offense like that in the criminal offenses and other.
Yeah, I know that. To me go into details of yes. I'm sure there have been rulings of the Supreme Court that says that nobody can actually help or sue on behalf of another person in the enforcing of fundamental rights of the individual. It's in camera why you go into that. Very quick one before I go and pick my calls. Honorable Bagbin say es gracia or ba ubichem.
You gotta be sure of that. Very clear in my mind.
Ubechem.
Completely.
Where your electioneering winning message in Tina if it's 28 years in 2021, now what S Gracia Bros bear 7. It is in principle, Honorable Babin pursue Tremua. I don't know what S Gracia is 7 times. Say way back and 7 times. I feel now walk at us over a president.
Well, you've not been following me.
Okay.
If you follow me, I'm one of those who like transforming things.
Okay.
And this is one of the things that throughout my experience, I thought it's not been properly done. You understand? What was the purpose of the ex gratia? And what was the purpose of that special conditions of service under Article 71? That definitely was meant to give assurance to holders of those positions that we, the society, were prepared to take care of you. So focused on service, our interests throughout your tenure of office. And that was one of the measures meant to preempt corruption in our society. Has it succeeded?
No.
No. And so why continue it? If you don't taste the food, how will you know whether the food is good or bad?
But 28 years of tasting the food.
Definitely, because I'm in other positions, and throughout those positions, I've been airing these views. Now I'm coming up to the highest, where you can now have more influence. And I'm saying, and I will never lie myself into power, that given the opportunity as president of this nation, I will rechannel that money into more useful ventures.
As Gracia.
Yes.
2021.
You
we
know
should be rest
something,
assured that Honorable Babin will not accept as Gracia because in principle he does not like it.
Oh, if that's the law.
No,
I mean,
by this your principle.
It's not a matter of principle.
It's
a matter
by
of
law.
It's a matter of channeling the resources into better usage. Let me give you a typical example. Because of the perception of that ex gratia, when you come to Parliament to see the numbers of people just walking in and coming to members of Parliament and expecting members of Parliament to dip their hands into their pockets and just give them money. And when the members say, we don't even have the money, they don't believe them. Because they know that, this huge thing has been paid to him as ex gratia. And for people like us, for how many times? 6 times? Then they say, what are you talking about? But they don't even know that from 1993 to 1996, there was no conditions of service for those of us who were there in Parliament. You understand? There was no presidential committee on emoluments. It was only established Green Street Committee. Their report was in 1998. That was the second Parliament. Okay? When also President Kufuor established the Chenrehese Committee in 2003, they could not complete in that Parliament. So they submitted their report around 2006, 2007, which covered the 2005 to 2008. So 2001 to 2004 was not also covered. People don't know these facts. But more importantly, we need to strengthen those state institutions. How do we do it? I have proposed, it's for the consideration of my party and the people of Ghana, that instead of us paying this lump sum we call ex gratia to the members, why not let's use that to establish offices for the members of Parliament in their constituencies, where they'll have the opportunity to engage staff, technical staff and partisan staff, who will be in the constituency, working for the constituents, doing research, bringing the necessary data to support the member of Parliament to effectively represent them on the floor of Parliament. That is what is done in democratic countries. Even Zimbabwe, it is there. Even Uganda, it is there. But here in Ghana, once you vote for the member of Parliament, that's all. He comes to Accra, he's alone, he's driving himself, he's organizing meetings, he's funding them, he's doing everything. You cannot be effective. That money could be utilized that way. Apart from just the technical staff, please, my understanding of multi-party democracy is about getting the authority of the people through an election. Now, the people vote on election day for 2 people. One is the president. The second is the member of Parliament. The member of Parliament has to lead the constituency to develop that constituency. The president is asked to lead the country to develop the country. The member is leading that constituency, supports the president to develop the country. right. Now, they now put their heads together to make the appointments. That's why in that concept, the president nominates and parliament approves before the president appoints. Then now, you have us having conditions of service where those appointees of both the president and the MPs now get better conditions of service than the members of parliament. That is unfair. That is unfair. Definitely. The member of parliament's condition will be better than that of a minister of state. And that will not also be a motivating factor for members of parliament trying to catch the eye of the president to be made ministers of state, because your conditions are already okay and you can effectively represent your people in parliament and also in your constituency because of the system we put in place. Let me tell you, when I wanted to change the housing policy of parliament, there were many that opposed it. But I, through experience of the years, saw that government was wasting a lot of resources without achieving the necessary results. And so I insisted through the bureaucracy, the clerk of parliament, and we did a memo which we submitted to the former president, J.A. Mills, as to the loss that the state was making in maintaining members of parliament into those flats at Sakumuno, Joggers, and the rest. It was colossal amounts that the state was spending. And so I said, why not give the member of parliament his rent in advance to go and rent a place? Because it's a contract employment. You have only 4 years. And so you rent and you stay there with your landlord. At the end of the day, when you go into election and you win, you come and get your rent advance again. You go and pay, negotiate with your landlord. If you lose, you and your landlord. But what was happening before that, every 4 years, government was compelled to renovate and put in proper position all where they were living.
Okay.
And also to change some of the furnitures for the new members of parliament coming. That used to take about 1 year. And so for the 1 year, the new members were housed in hotels and government was paying and the members were suffering because you are all into one room. You have to go and look for somewhere to eat and come and just sleep. Your family cannot come and live with you for 1 year. And so both government and the members were suffering, and yet a lot of money was being wasted. And so when I recommended that and the policy was changed, in fact, His Excellency was shocked when I gave the numbers, the data, and said, please go ahead and implement it. We implemented it, and that's why at that time, members were given 20,000 advance rent to rent places. Today, we have reduced...
For 4 years or 1 year?
No, they pay for first 2 years.
20,000 Ghana cedi.
Yes, we
or
are
dollars?
for cedis.
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 For 2 years.
You pay for 2 years.
Okay.
And then you go for another 2 years.
Okay.
You understand? That is what is now being in practice. When you total that amount as against what
we were doing earlier,
please, you'll be shocked.
Okay.
And so I am prepared to give my life for this policy of ex gratia. And I know if you look at the judiciary, theirs is different because it's a long-term life employment. It's not contract like the political.
People are worried, sir. People are worried, sir. MPs will be to me here, Juma as a doctor, 30 years, 40 years now, or retire when you're just one retirement benefit. But members of parliament, every 4 years, must dissolve parliament. Na Adiachia will be a best out of yes, I say resume parliament. 4 years in Yaji ex gratia. Every 4 years be a moji. Why don't we make it in such a way, sir? Sir, ube parliamentarian unless see a tuaba. I wouldn't see a tuaba well lose Uma back to parliament view. Naki ama once and for all a year ex gratia. Quick one. 1 minute and I came for course.
Well, it's constitutional. But apart from that, you don't look at members of parliament as if they are a different class of people. They are doctors in parliament. All those professionals you are mentioning are in parliament. None of them, in trying to get appointments, spends that much of money that the member of parliament spends to get into parliament. One of the reasons I'm talking about scrapping the ex gratia is that the members of parliament now are compelled to use their ex gratia for facilities, credit facilities in banks.
I know that.
To be able to contest. And so even when the money is paid, it's not paid to the member, it's paid to the financial institution. If there's a balance, you know how to handle it. So is that the purpose for which the ex-gracias were established? No. So we have to look at how we fund political parties, how we finance campaigns, and we must regulate them. We can't just allow politicians to just do. Look at these huge billboards. What is the effect of all that? Spend a lot of money in that. We have to regulate it. And therefore, we have to sanitize the system in order to channel the resources towards more productive areas. And that's what I'm for.
Okay, happy 98 points in FM Jumedi ni Epa Hoa Daben. Pacho ba mesremo sa mechiawe membre ko etimuntwa yes answer ne so. We just phone calls may fire in respect to Honorable Bagbin and someone waka. Any other matters I'm not ready for it now. When him say me ready me farm calls I'm here receiving other matters. Honorable Bagbin someone abekanwa and our person touch one. Friend 0302 254 856. My man, hello, why you? Hello, why you? Hello? Hello? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Mommy, and yeah, okay. Hello, why you?
President.
Yeah. What fire Casama and Bacho trying to tell to mommy?
But that's it. Yeah, that's it. Sir, Wakofa, your leader, Edenaba, when interview now. Leader, I'm not gonna play now. Irish, you we are immediately say, Obibia, Otia Happy FM, Epa Hoa Daben, and no credit, police program, Lidino, SF. Honorable Babi, Amaya Resimu, Mitiano, never be a man, I'm a mania, Wama Ghana for in our resimu, through NDC for them. Political party, dear and the wa, say, Obenya is in our papa, LT grassroots. It's all no oba, and the grassroots me now, the Edginan and Naso, the grassroots me Gran and Naswa, party Nibaya Horde, party Nipiya Horde. Now, if we are government to swap, government Nanya Horde, it's the best way, says I the delegate. Message you will come my 2016, no you because it's a grassroots near already and then hope about so Honorable Bagbin, up by our Musa, or no by a fat bella. Okay, or Bebois, and a black name, your friend said, na bank account. Oh, no, I can say, no, they are running.
Right, Medasi. Hello, Wani.
Kaboom.
Yay.
Well, we are from
Prof, trying to tell to mommy. Why?
You, Mabu Abaso. Kaboom, maybe NDC, minimum Mary, or born a home dance, me, instance of me, a be incompetent, minimum Mary, and Yadu on the Manaba. It's as a Mary, send a ocean pa, me and people in Mary, ocean pa, the credibility, me competent or one, and could bet me a brand DC, but NDC in Penisa. And Nana, that was with Tia and Kaboom. No, your interview be about the say, men's go this can. Obey Namayan, I do not be a president 2020 or obey years canamum. Let me be say, obey would be president. Yeah, tasks I added dinner would be a greedy beer or what mistake beer would be a music and yeah, tasks and what you could check.
Okay, may I say, I think your question is warming. Honorable, who can so bet you a men's good for Zigamom?
Clear in my mind. It's the duty and responsibility of the government to protect the citizens.
Hello?
You understand? And so what happened is part of failure of governance. And it's not been happening today, it's been happening all over.
It will be to your mom.
Sure.
Okay.
The principle, not the interest.
The principle, not the interest. Why you?
Hello, Kaboom.
Yeah, me bacho chance some minute.
Me try Tiakra. Kaboom, na makuni.
Na ma ko kawaju.
Kana tiasu boy. Me ma honorable. Me na me tuzo makata pa me sama na fisha panso. But wakata the part no mu na muaro. Honorable, honorable say ofi oba as that we twem. What parliament there 5 times. Me who the way suggest just as that we twem da. Na ade na obepo police be pele no so mu twa as gas here no. And all the sympathy vote na. And also so be me can say double salary or GDR. I don't know, G, and I don't know, give you one. The better returns all the fun.
Okay, me da se. Honorable Metro questions na go hona. We are just about 5 minutes here, right? Why ni?
Kaboom.
Yay.
Afishapa.
I've come to you.
Afisa sana ni makoye wati nyamisha.
All right, fire wagene.
Kwacho mediane kwakuba ko mekasa fi lashidi.
Kwakuba ko wagene.
Me da se. Me chia owura Bagbin, Nyankopon ka no ho. O ma na dis so ade hu emrem. NDC ya tere koma che, ya stu ache. E koma de ache. Wo pe mabunu pa e wo party mo NDC mu a aye ho tere pa NDC mabunu, especially communicated serial college. Full soldiers. Wo panyifo ni nya 2 minutes bi a mo fa obi anya hwe. Papa we stay for ba sa na mani nyina no ebe free ho because yenim je to yen enna ma apathy e ba ye party in 2016.
Okay, ti wo support here your Honorable Bagbin yentuma no.
Honorable Bagbin ti me say delegate for nyina me ye control executive me to aba ne bi.
May I say, I think your point is well made. Yamere no isha. Okay, me fa ko bia bio ye wi ana ya to aso. Honorable Bagbin, me sure say obi the question by in respect to ex-Gwasha. Why answer no that? But what the bibi ba say double salary.
I'm really surprised.
Double salary oji bia na.
Oh, I don't know what the definition of double salary is.
Okay.
But you know, because of the experience of the country, particularly the parliamentary experience, the Chinrihese Committee made a recommendation which accepted by the President, also approved by Parliament. That same recommendation found expression in the recent Presidential Committee on Emoluments that was set up by the former President John Dramani Mahama, that if you are a member of Parliament and you are made a Minister of State, you have two sources of payments because they are not the same salary. Okay? You have as a member of Parliament and you have as a Minister of State. Now, as at now, which is what I said I'm going to change if I'm President of Ghana, the Ministers of State receive more salary than the members of Parliament. And so the recommendation was that the Parliament will pay the portion of salary for a member of Parliament. The differences between that and that of the minister will be paid by the Controller and Accountant General. You understand? But since members of Parliament never know their salaries until usually the wee years or wee days of the end of the term, it's usually getting to the end of the 4 years that the approvals are giving about their salaries and conditions of service. And so some monies are always paid by Parliament and some money is paid by the Controller and Accountant General as payment on accounts. If at the end of the day the salary is determined, then these deductions are made. Sometimes when the salary is determined, by the time you realize there's overpayment because the salary might not be up to the combination of the two payments from account. And so there's always the process of refund. It happened during the Kufuor's regime. And so Professor Mills asked that they should refund the balance. Now, if a similar thing has occurred in the John Dramani Mahama's regime, then the only thing left is for them to refund. But it's not double salary.
Okay.
That you are paid a full salary as member of Parliament and you are paid a salary as Minister of State. No. That's not what happened. And so it's important that this be explained for people to understand. But you know, Ghanaians, you can fabricate a story, like the story about the guinea fowl case that flew to Burkina, which was just fabricated. There was no such incident. But as of today, it's being used. And so people are always looking for such opportunities to as the current president said, what do you do to the dog?
You hang it, you give it a bad name, you hang it.
Exactly.
But that is the more reason we are requesting for the passing of the RTI bill. Send them information, you be privy to the information, which I'm sure, Honorable, as the second deputy speaker of Parliament, you are going to make sure, say, before so be free Parliament 2021. Now, Wababe Jina, NDC, are known as the Frank Tunino, that is the presidential candidate of NDC. That is if NDC tomorrow.
You can cross-check from the coalition of civil society organization on the RTI by bill. The time I was said to be a member of the three wise men, I was made the chairman again of the Committee on Constitutional and Legal Affairs. That is 2013. I managed to get the civil society players, Parliament to Fredia. We worked on the bill. We submitted 52 pages amendments, and we started it in Parliament to order complete in 2014. But the advice was that because they were so copious, it was better to give it to the Ages Department to incorporate it into a new bill and then represent to Parliament, because that could take us a long period to get it through, because clause by clause, word by word, and that was difficult. So I did my work as a chairman.
So you are in support of the passing of our TI?
Oh, yes. It's an indictment on Parliament that we will not be able to pass it all these years, because I was part of the initiation in 1999 by the Institute of Economic Affairs.
Okay.
You know?
Honorable,
So it's an indictment.
Last message to the public. And
I can only thank you and Happy FM for this copious opportunity to put across my views and for people to get to know me better. I can also thank your listeners for having the patience and time to listen to us, and for particularly the contributions that they've made by phoning in. I know we are making progress. It's only the progress is at a snail's pace. It's too slow, and we need new, fresh of leadership and ideas to catalyze it, to develop this country in order to create enough space for all of us, particularly more employment opportunities for many more youth. And so I thank you so much. It's a rare opportunity, and I'm sure the good Lord will bless you.
Honorable Alban Bagbin, Kwame Afrifa Mensa Nimidi, Youth President of the Republic.
You are lucky you are already a president. I'm struggling to be.
Wuni ochedi ampo nyankopon enko na woni wanim bibia wukọ ye bia woni wanim na enye yie mawo na so wukọ na yetoma wo a wo ba fie hanso a ye no be ye adwuma ochedi ampo kwa me nhirawo on to nkwa nam ye da asesu se afre wo bae